Oh, full screen is F5, yeah. What is full screen? Here somewhere is there. More tools. Present. Are we expecting some more? Or? Yeah. Welcome. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunattu Sagaviryankaravavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Hari Om. How many of you do your daily devotions? Morning, evening, sometime? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, the daily devotions, we appeal to the higher energies, a higher force, higher spiritual force, in the form of God, in the form of what is most popularly addressed as the Ishtadevata of one's own dear, endearing God. Gods are different from endearing gods. So, meditation is usually done on that principle which is most endearing to us. So, Ishtadevata is the singular object of our meditation. So, for 10 minutes, we will go through a guided session on how to bring our mind closest to the Ishtadevata and seek his or her blessings. So, preferably you can sit cross-legged if it is possible, Jeans pant will be very tough. Otherwise, if you are comfortable, keep it below, not an issue. If not, it should not fall down. Then sit straight with your chest erect and not very stiff, but relaxed. And take deep breaths. Imagine an expanse of water in front of you, a lake. And the ripples in the lake or the thoughts in the mind, do not follow them, just observe. Imagine a lotus, a full bloom lotus, a large lotus on the lake. Allow the mind to rest on the lotus, imagining your Ishta is seated on the lotus. The Ishta is of the form of light. He is extremely compassionate, filled with joy. He is the father of the father, mother of the mother, teacher of the teacher. He is thoroughly blemishless, no sin attaches, and is ever enlightened. He is approaching you and occupying your heart, the lotus of your heart. His kindness, mercy, and grace has no limitation. Unbounded love. all your weaknesses going away. You fill with joy, you are filled with bliss. Your Ishta is blessing you, touching your head to awaken your consciousness. Your Ishta transfers his love, his purity, his knowledge, and his light into you. Every cell of your body is now pure. Every thought is holy, and every experience is divine. You prostrate before your Ishta, touching the feet and offering yourself unconditionally to him. You have one pointed love, you now have one pointed devotion And you now have one-pointed concentration on your Ishta. The Ishta, which is the form of light, merges in you and becomes one with you. Your mind is now at rest, your mind is peaceful, and you are now awakened. Let peace prevail henceforth. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. ये बीच बीच में हो जाएगा क्या?
No, it won't lock.
परत हो गया तो
For some time.
बात करने के समय तो वो चला जाएगा. ठीक है, ठीक. After meditation, you don't feel like talking. And now I have to talk for 1 hour. Our Brahmanandaji Maharaj used to say that you have to slowly draw the mind into your heart, and when you're breaking the meditation, you have to slowly withdraw your mind from the heart. And for the next 10-15 minutes, one should not be engaged in any worldly activity. Immediately I am going for lock screen. All right. The meditation, which is dhyana, actually comes after the process called dharana. According to the Patanjali steps, after dharana comes dhyana. Now, dharana means holding the mind on one singular object of adoration. Something which you adore, put your mind in that. And now Patanjali gives a very, very good hints as of how this mind can be arrested on an object of adoration. So he says, Yenakena prakarena, by any means, you can think of a good dream that you had, an elevating dream. People have dreams. And sometimes we have a very good experience, even in our day-to-day existence. You can remember that. So anything that has been a kind of out of the way, out of the normal, and an elevating experience can be used. And he even says, sometimes we hear some good sounds. I mean, I'm not talking about a defective ear. I'm talking about a proper ear, but they hear some good sounds which are not material in nature. A spark that they get the glimpse they get to see. So all these are very elevating experience, and mind can be arrested by bringing those experiences to the fore, by remembering them. So our objective here is that as early and as quickly we are able to withdraw the mind from the disturbances, better will be and easier will be the process of meditation. And meditation is something which happens as a consequence. In fact, the last 2 minutes or whatever, when I said let's be at peace, possibly that's when the meditation is starting, before which we have broken. Meditation is a long process, and subsequently the mind settles in that thought for a long time, and every cell in the body will have to have that experience of being at peace. Every cell in the body. That's the reason why we say sit properly, sit erect, and let's not wear tight clothes. Tight clothes are not at all conducive for practices. So wear light clothes, preferably washed ones, and then we take a bath and keep our body also cool. Have some incense so that bad odor doesn't come and distract. And then don't have too many bright lights. Have a dim lighting so that because even if you close your eyes, there is an impact of the light hitting on the eyelids and then creating a sensation of some perturbed vision. So in order to get rid of all that, some dim lighting, all those ambience are required so that mind doesn't get disturbed by the external factor. But how about the sound here? IIT not much sound. So it's very good. When you go to the city, you'll have to find it difficult. So in the previous class, we saw this Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana as the three steps for three progressive steps and three involved steps. I think you missed it. Nah? So just to have a quick refact, you saw this one, right? Where is that? You saw this one. You saw this one, right? So these are the various kinds of errors that we commit, we get logged into. And how do you get out of these errors? So to get out of the error, we need a method, a practice. So Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana are the threefold practices. Why Shravana we are talking about? Because the 7th Shloka says, Shravanayapi bahubir yona labhya. That is, people who have heard, just by hearing, people don't attain the truth. Can we do a surgery by listening to a surgeon's description of surgery? Certainly we cannot do that. But one thing is very sure, if you listen to a surgeon, then your conviction on the process of surgery increases. You know that this man talks from his experience. As a result, a time will come when even I shall be able to do it. It's not far from that. Maybe there are people who are doing it at least. It's not an impossible thing. So the doubts that we have with regards to the science and the technique of surgery, that will go away. If you see a surgeon talk his experience. So that is Shravana. But Shravana here also in the devotionals, or rather in the spiritual sense, what is Shravana? Shravana is Paroksha Jnanam. That is the knowledge that we get from the teachers. These teachers have a good amount of experience, a strong and pure life backing the character, backing their words. And when they say something, it contains both meaning, a message, as well as a motivation for the people to abide by. So the student goes to the teacher and listens to all these practices, prescriptions. And he also reads the book to see whether whatever the teacher says corroborates with what the book says. So comparing the teachers with the book and trying to read the book and then get it clarified by the teacher, this kind of a hand-in-hand approach will, what does it finally uh, lead you to? What does it result in? We simply cannot say he gets knowledge, because knowledge is something which is uh, which is the ladder. The first step is also knowledge. The last step is also knowledge. Knowledge is the ladder in which we are climbing. So to say something, even our eyes are revealing knowledge, ears are revealing knowledge. So by saying knowledge, we don't mean anything. What do we get specifically by doing the Shravana, which is Paroksha Jnana, external, is that the subject matter of study henceforth will, you will not have any doubts. You will not have any very basic doubts with regards to the subject matter of study. For example, during my school days, when I attended the lessons in physics, chemistry was much more tangible. Mathematics was very abstract, so I just took it for granted. But physics was somewhere in the middle, because it had experimental setup and it had a mathematical abstraction. So it was somewhere in the middle. And I never got to understand why I'm doing the physics. Never I got to understand why at all I am doing this physics, of what use it is, because it was talking about something tangible and at the same time having mathematical abstractions, both coming together was creating a confusion of well, is it really the thing which I have to study, which will take further and which will be beneficial? So many thoughts started cluttering in my mind because I was not able to place that particular learning. As days went by, I understood that uh, I need not have worried. I need not have got worried about all these things. But anyway, maturity gives its own wisdom. So as a result, what we find here is the subject matter of study always gives us a question of whether do I need it or not. It talks about extrasensory perceptions, whether do I need it or not. I'm happy with my rasagulla. I'm happy with a good night's sleep. We all had a good night's sleep, I suppose. So the good night's sleep happens because we take too many things for granted. Well, good. As long as sleep happens, we are happy about it. So, but then, as we are happy with all these mundane, I'm sorry, I'm calling it mundane because it is so repeatable and happens so involuntarily without me asking for it, right? Without me even trying with it. So that's why it's called mundane. Not because it is trivial, but it is mundane. So just because we have it and we start beginning to like it, we just only can't simply aspire for it. Because a thing which happens naturally and voluntarily, why should I aspire for it? One has to aspire for something which is not attainable in the normal course of action of life. So what is that we can aspire for? For example, a good competitive examination. Clearing the competitive examination is something which is really out of the ordinary. So we have a targeted learning, we do a study, we give ourselves a good dose of these the subjects, the theorems, the proofs, applications, everything we study, and then we give the exam. We see that we have cleared. But after that we'll again go through the same competitive training. that won't be necessary because you have already cleared those basics. Further to which you will get into the system and then try to materialize the purpose for which you have entered into the institution. And therefore, your discovery, your search, your journey keeps on going one after another. Miles after miles, targets get redefined, and then we aspire for more and more, but continuously, constantly keeping in mind that we do not undo our past. We should never undo our past. We do all the mathematics, get into the system, and then start doing painting and architecting and sculpting. Well, how does mathematics work? You can do it, there's nothing wrong about it. But why did you have to do so much of calculus and integration and if it is science, physics and quantum physics and relativity, why do you have to struggle so much if you have to only do this? So whatever we do at a grosser level as well as on a subtler level, we should see to it that we don't waste our energies, and we don't, by wasting our energy, what do I mean? You don't negate your past. You grow on your past. So, but that's a serious asking for a person, We really do not know what we are going to be in the future. So how can you chalk your future being in the present, not knowing what are the offerings you will get in the future? So that's a big question mark. So they say life is a gamble. Life is a gamble only when you do it with the eyes closed. Because all the guys who have achieved the purpose of life have actually done it more systematically, methodically, and they've all had a kind of a growth path. And they have grown along the direction. And every time we look back and then walk back, we are only going to lose our time, effort, and resources. So what I'm trying to say here is the Shravana, the knowledge that you are getting in the subject matter of study, which is basically the realization of one's own self, to answer the big question of who I am. The scripture says for that you need to do an exhaustive study, a good amount of study of the scriptures, and hear from the teachers the attribute and the quality and the character of the so-called your true definition, the real man, which we call Atma, which we call Brahma. So now comes the question, the popular question: why do I need it? Whether will I at all get it? Are there any people who got it? Or those people who say they have got it, are they faking it? No, these things they crop up, unbridled. When they crop up, it is natural. If it doesn't crop up, then there's something wrong. That's the reason why this Samshaya Nivritti, which is a Shravana, has been kept at the very first step. So get rid of those doubts. How do you get rid of those doubts? By discussing with your peers. Hey, there's somebody I saw one monk. He says that he has realized God. What do you think about him? Is he a fake? Have you ever talked to him? Have you ever met him? And then he seems to be, very fluent. His fluency has there's no check of his fluency. And, his face is also, beaming. Maybe he must have oiled his face. Is it so? So, about his character, about his physical features, about his knowledge, about his deliberation, about his relationship with people, about his personal contact and private contact, they will try to peek into his room and say, what is he doing at the late night, early morning or midday? What is he doing? He's going somewhere every day this northern direction. Let us follow him and find out. See, all these things come well up within him because you really want to know whether the guy worth the metal that he stands for, that he poses himself as. Is he worth the metal? So, what are we trying to do? We are trying to clarify our doubts. Rather, remove our doubts about that person. Whether I can trust him, whether I can believe him, whether I can take him for granted. And the same thing is about your own personal life, about your own self. What am I? If it is true about the second person, how much more we have to be intensely seeking the answer if it has to be about my own self. In the morning, I feel something about myself in one way. In the afternoon, I feel something, yet another thing about my way. And in the night, I feel entirely different, completely coming down to a very elemental existence. And in the morning, I come up with as if as a newborn child. So much changes in the moods and the way of thinking I have that goes in my mind. Who am I? And what am I amidst all these, sea of experiences that I have for myself? Is it a conglomeration of experiences, or I am singling out as one of this and then the rest of all are fake? Which one is real among us? If I'll have to trust, I have to take it for granted, or I'll have to ratify something which is external, then how much more I need to do if the same thing is identified with my own self? It's a question which cannot be answered so easily. That's the reason why we seek out for the teachers. They say, Acha, there's a doubt about who am I? What do you think who you are? We can ask the teacher the same. And let us see what the books say. And the book will say, without any bias, because that book will be read by young and the old and all the ages in the middle, people from all walks of life and profession, people having various kinds of attitudes. For every one of them, it is the same book. So the book cannot change its language for obvious reasons. So everybody reaches that book and then they get back something. Not everyone will be absorbing the values. Correct? Each one absorbs and understands in his own way. And then he reaches out to the corresponding community. Community in the sense it could be a single man. So it reaches out to him and then asks, the book says this, I understand this, what do you see? So the Bermuda Triangle is now constructed here, the Golden Triangle. And in the Golden Triangle, there is some transpiration that happens. The master says, Acha, very good question. Can you live with this question for 6 months? Okay, cannot be, na? Can you live with this question for 6 weeks? Come to me after 6 weeks. If the teacher says, what will you think? Now I know. He is going to Google out the answer. Because he has to do prompt engineering. Huh? And then put a right question to ChatGPT. By the time I go to him, he will be ready with the answer. No, that's not the reason why he is asking you to come 6 weeks later. He wants to see whether you are really sincerely holding on to that question. By the virtue of we getting a question, doesn't mean that we have the right for the knowledge. The question is your right. Not to know. Not to be taught. To be taught is not your right. The question is, of course, your right. So, since to be taught is not your right, the teacher wants to know whether you are sincere in your question. The only way he can test your sincerity is to wait and whether he can see, whether he wants to check whether you can live with the question. You have to live with the question. The question should not be just, trashed just because you didn't get an answer in 1 or 2 callings, or 2 or 3 efforts, or 4 or 5 some adventures. One should not throw away the question, these sour grapes are sour. Are we able to live with the question? Prashnopanishad begins with such a question from 5 students. They reached the Pippalada, is the Maharishi. The Maharishi simply said, go, come after 1 year. He didn't even entertain. And then he said, after your 1 year, when you come, if you think I know the answer, if you think that I know the answer, and if you think that I can explain to you, then we will see. Pippalada simply sends them back. So these 5 rishis, they go back and then they undergo tapasya for 1 full year. What is meant by living with the question? Living with the question is not doing everything and forgetting about the question. And again, suddenly, you would have kept a timer after 6 weeks. Oh, I have to meet this man, ask this question. Na? Oh, that's yet another schedule. So you go back and say, sir, you remember? Na? I remember very well. But do you remember your question? So something I asked, can you tell me what my question was? We often get into that kind of a foothold. We forget even what our question is. So living with the question means really being bothered about the question, and the question occupies the fore of your mind while you are engaged in various other things. The question never goes at the back of your mind. The question is at the fore of the mind. In every interaction, I am talking to Abhinandan, I am talking to Vignesh, I am talking to Vipul, or whoever be it. So I have all this question in mind. Array, who is this person who is talking? I'm engaging myself with so many things and so many people. I'm having so much of experiences. But who is this that is having this? Always. That is called living with the question. So once a person is able to live with the question, he, in addition to having the right for asking the question, he now earns the right for an answer. He earns the right for an answer by living with the question. So that Shravana process tells you about the living with the question. And you don't doubt it, you are earnestly and sincerely seeking it. See, just because you ask a person, does God exist? Swami Vivekananda, when he was reading the Daffodils poem written by William Wordsworth, who was the teacher? An English professor, Spencer, I don't know, Henry, some person, I forget his name. Hmm? In presidency, who was this teacher? So the teacher, there William Wordsworth talks about ecstasy. He writes about ecstasy in the poem Daffodils. So there he says, what is ecstasy, sir? He said, see, ecstasy cannot be explained more than what Wordsworth has said. But if you want to see ecstasy, you can say you can see ecstasy, then go to Dakshineshwar. There is one person, Ramakrishna. You can see him there. He did not know where. He was living in the Shimla, in Kolkata region. So there is a railway track nearby also. So he said, you go to Dakshineshwar. Then if I go there, I can know. Yes, he will tell everything about ecstasy. Then he goes. First meeting itself, Vivekananda asks, have you seen God? Now that have you seen God, Vivekananda has asked, how many, whoever has posed himself as a preacher, as a social reformer, as as a person, as a scholar even. So all these guys, he has gone and personally counseled saying that, have you seen God? And then they said, hey, we only trade with the knowledge of God. We have not seen God. We are all traders of God. Somebody said. And so true were there. And Vivekananda, so Narendranath, he used to go back, what is this? Everybody talks of God, but nobody has seen God. So the moment this ecstasy was brought in, that is something which is supernatural experience, supernormal experience. And then suddenly he found an opportunity. Yes, here maybe possibly the teacher can tell me what is the godly existence of being ecstatic. And then the teacher is an English professor. He's a Britisher. So he had the acumen. He came to know about Ramakrishna. So that's something surprising. He sent him, and then no sooner he met Sri Ramakrishna, he said, "Sir, have you seen God?" The very first interaction. And how much you should be living with the question that it is in the fore, always to be put forth. It was not at the back to be just recollected. It was always in the fore to be put forth. And he did that to Ramakrishna, and he got the answer that he was yearning for those many years. He says, yes, I have seen. And much more clearly than I see you. How do you understand this? How can you seeing you? It should be clear, right? If I'm not seeing you clear, then there's a problem with my eye. So he says, I'm seeing the God much more clear than as I see you. And not only that, I can also show him to you. All the three things he said. Now, actually, it's a very, very philosophical statement which Sri Ramakrishna said. What he has experienced, we write commentary. So, commentary is left to us. We can write as many pages of commentary we want. So, the commentary that we write is, the knowledge of God, the self-realization, is not a knowledge that you get through a medium or an instrument. I get to see things because of the so-called the eye center, the nervous center which is responsible for the functioning of the eyes. If the eyes are defective, then you cannot see. But then the modern brain neuroscientists, they will come and tell, this eye instrument is not necessary. I will fix something gadget here, he will be able to see. So when they say eye, we actually don't mean these tissues. We actually mean that nerve center in the brain that is responsible for giving you the sense of vision. So when they say Chakshurindriya, the organ of vision. What is the organ of vision? Not the cornea and pupil. It is the nerve center in the brain. So if a person loses Chakshurindriya, he loses the nerve center, permanent disability for vision. So no AI processes, no brain processes, no neuroscientists can solve the problem unless he replaces your brain or the nerve center, does a transplantation of nerve center, if such a thing comes in the future.
This is exactly what is read in Swami's Raja Yoga.
Acha? Yeah, very correct. Very correct. So he talks about nerve centers. Nadi mandalam is the word that we use in our local language, vernacular. So why I am saying this is, now when Vivekananda went and asked Sri Ramakrishna, have you seen? He said, yes, I have seen. Without any ambiguity. Yes, I have seen. 4 words. Ami Ishwar ke dekechi in Bengali. So, since it was an unambiguous utterance of the vision of God, Narendranath could not but accept it. He has to accept it. But then you may also think, so that's the Samshaya Nivritti. That day, the doubt in Vivekananda vanished. But then this doubt might be there. Oh, this guy might have seen, but I may not be able to see. That doubt can come. See, Einstein became a great scientist, but can you become? Feynman, Einstein, Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, so many names are there, wonderful names. When you read those names and their life and their productions, their creations, you feel so much attracted that you yourself want to kind of imitate their genius. I mean, that is the power. That's really the power. If we possibly will be meeting such a spiritual luminary, the one thing that will be prominent in your mind is, can I become him? What is it that I need to become him? If the true hunger comes actually with everyone. But then there will always be an inertia. I will not be able to do it. So that's when the manana takes the man one step forward. It says, not only that what I have heard is true, but what I have heard is true can be made more intimately true through my own experience. I don't need to resort to quotations. Thus spake Ramakrishna, God can be seen. Page number 142, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, written by Mahendranath Gupta, published by Chennai Math. I don't have to do that. I'll say, God exists? Yes, it exists. And how do you know? I have seen. How it will be? Rather than saying, Sri Ramakrishna says, God can be seen. Between these two, there are a lot of differences. But then, in order to get that experience, we should first of all not negate it within our own selves. The kind of negation is a self-defeating activity. We should never defeat ourselves. That is, suppose you put forth yourself to solve a research problem. You take a research problem and you want to solve it. What will be the first thought within you? Whether you will be able to solve it or not. You should never entertain the mind, hey, this problem is not solvable. What's not solvable? Let me see. You will never be able to do. I can take a bet in this. The moment you weaken yourself at the foundation, any construction you do is only bound to crumble like a pack of cards. It is as weak as a pack of cards, even though it may be made out of cement and iron, but it will be just a pack of cards the moment your foundation is weak. So that's the reason why we should never ever entertain negative thoughts. Always, 100% be ever positive thoughts. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. How is it to be done? Never see anything negative. Don't find faults with. There may be intense amounts of faults, but don't find them. Don't try to dig into it. Don't try to discuss about it. Don't try to vitiate your mind with all those thoughts. Avoid it diligently. Swami Vivekananda says a very beautiful statement. He says, anything that you find weakening you, reject it as poison. Anything that is negative and weakening, reject it as poison. Will anybody knowing that something is a poison, let me do a taste analysis of this poison. Will anybody do that? Even sparsha will not be entertained. People won't even touch. The reason is, if you touch and then say touch your eyes, or touch your nose through breathing, or touch your tongue, People do it. They keep on, they're either they are in the dining hall eating food or they are outside eating meals. There are many. Correct? So sparsha is also a very big problem. So darshana, sparshana, shravana, everything, are mujhe nahi chahiye ye sab. Poisons are to be rejected categorically. Likewise, the negative thoughts. And it is possible, it is immensely possible. One Swami, his name is Swami Shivananda. He is from not the Shivananda of the Ramakrishna order, of the Rishikesh fame. He is very, very holy soul. Wow, very pious and holy soul. It's a fantastic person. If you read his books on Allah, so you can clearly know that this guy is, the inner being is totally pure. Totally pure. And he says in one place, I think the book is called The Mind and Its Mysteries. He says, if your mind, watch carefully, if your mind is a thought generating machine, why not generate good thoughts? During my formative years, when I heard this particular statement, it was a transformation I went through. And it is my own mind which is generating all this. So why should I waste my energies generating negative thoughts and feed myself with all the rasagullas only to generate negative thoughts? And live this God-given life only to spread negative thoughts. Life is not an easy thing. Jantuna narajanma durlabam atah pamsam tato viprata tasmad vaidika dharma marga parata vipratvam asmat param atma anatma vivechanam swanubhavo brahmatmana samstitihi muktirna shatakoti janma sukrite punyai vina labhyate. First word itself is Vivekananda, first shloka. It's a beautiful shloka. He says, Jantunam narajanma durlabam. Shankaracharya says, of all the koti births, species that we can be one amongst, that we are born as human beings, be so grateful, thankful. We really do not know what we have done in the past to have actually got this human birth. After having got it, it's become so easy for us. We just, fritter it away in all frivolities, trivial things. We just fritter it away. In Tamil, any Tamil guys? No one. At least last time one guy was there. So there is a beautiful couplet in Tamil. தேகமே இது பொய்யடா காற்றடைந்த பையடா இல்ல சாரி நந்தவனத்தில் ஒரு ஆண்டி அவன் ஈரைந்து மாதமாய் குயவனை வேண்டி, I'll just tell it, ஈரைந்து மாதமாய் குயவனை வேண்டி கொண்டு வந்தான் ஒரு தோண்டி அதை கூற்றாடி போட்டு உடை தாண்டி. It has got a rhyming ending. So this particular folk song says, Nandavanam is this earth. Nandavanathil or Andi is a beggar. This beggar, what he did, he prayed for 2 into 5 equal to 10 months. He prayed for a body. He prayed. And then after praying, he got one pot. Tondi means pot. After praying, he got a pot. What is that pot? That pot is his body. So after soulful prayer, sitting in the mother's garbha, he prayed, oh, let me have a body, let me have a body, let me have a body. After 10 months of such a meditative prayer, he finally got a body. Kondu vanda tondi. Then after that, what did he do? He did all the games and playing with that pot, and then he shattered it into pieces. He shattered the pot into pieces. So the body that we have got, after having lived a fast life of frivolities, we just break away and then We lose the body for the very purpose for which we got the body. It's a very big question whether we attain that purpose or not. People may ask a question, why do you have to eternally look for a purpose? Should there be necessarily a purpose for human existence? But how is it that every of our actions are tagged with a purpose? We are so happy trying to find out the purpose for every each one of our actions. We try to endlessly justify ourselves and then freely give a discourse on how purposeless this creation is. How random and purposeless this creation is. How purposeless means what? How did it happen? It just happened. How did creation happen? It just happened. So when you say it just happened, you didn't just go to dining hall. You didn't just go to your bed. You didn't just come to IIT. But how is it that this creation just happened? So when each one of your actions can have a well-defined purpose, collectively also it must have a grander purpose, much more grander purpose. Correct? So now in that grand purpose, finding the sense and the real meaning of who am I, whether it is possible to attain or not, that particular propensity of weakness goes away. And then mind settles. First thing is, now there is no doubt that a higher self exists, and then there is no doubt that I can attain identity with that self. And now what is the third step? What will be the third step now? Attaining that self. Absolutely. One claps. The third step is attaining. That is what Nididhyasana is all about. In Nididhyasana, what happens? It is not, again, in very precise terminology, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, all of them are mental modifications. They are prayatnas, efforts. So, even though the purpose may be to find the real identity and find not finding the real identity by questioning henceforth. Questioning is gone. By assertion. How do we find ourselves one with the truth that we are seeking? Through continuous process of assertion. What is that assertion? Yes, the real man, the real person, the Atman, the Brahman, the God, the divine, the consciousness, the supreme energy, the supreme force, all of which are synonyms, all of this is me. I am that. I am no different from that. But is this his flesh that I equate myself with? No. Is this his mind that I am equating with? No. Is this the force that is actually operating within my body, the prana, as we call? Is it that which I am equating with the real? No. Neither of these three, and it's none of their ilk. Now, to say none of their ilk is actually very derogatory in English. But such is the way you will have to treat, and none of its ilk to be treated with the real I. What is that real I? That real I is the supreme, which is untouchable, unbreakable, undeniable. It's full of consciousness, full of knowledge, full of bliss. Bliss means what? Full of anandam. There is absolutely not a stain of sorrow in it. Such is our original self. So, where do I get this information from? I got the information from the books. I got the things from the teacher. And now I know, and my teacher himself was the very embodiment of this particular knowledge. I get to know about it. Those were the days when people could meet. But nowadays, we have to quote Ramakrishna. So we can quote, nevertheless, not an issue at all. But for those sincere seekers, I tell you, friends, I really tell you, this is out of my own experience. If you're really sincere, you will come across a person who will be the teacher as it is mentioned here. You will come across. I really do not know how this happens in this India. But if you sincerely desire, but if you vainly and vacantly look for it, certainly you will not be able to spot this man. But if you are sincere, you will all of a sudden that he is amidst you. Or you will be taken in the midst of such a community, such a person. And it is for sure that each one of you have the right to have that experience. What experience I am talking of? That direct communication with a man of realization. Each one of us are entitled to have it. But you will have to seek. And that hunger and the thirst must be there within you. And the Lord, the great designer of this creation, He will make sure that not that you go to the teacher, He will make sure the teacher comes to you. That's how Sri Ramakrishna found, sitting in the temple, he found Totapuri coming and giving him Vedanta sadhana. He found the Bhairavi Brahmani. I forget her actual name, but the nickname is Bhairavi Brahmani. She was a doyen in Tantra Shastra. So she came and initiated Sri Ramakrishna in Tantra Shastra and took him through variety of about 63, 64 various experiments in Tantra, which are very, very difficult to practice. Impossible. Brahmani herself says, it is difficult to practice even 3 tantras and attain perfection in them. And here is a man. Who is this man I am seeing here? She is wonderstruck that every day he is clearing one tantra, one method, and attaining perfection. He is seeing the culmination of that particular tantra. And then with experience, he is sitting forth and hungering for what next, what next, what next. And Bhairavi Brahmani is so happy that she found the fittest of the disciple in Sri Ramakrishna. Here the teachers will come because Sri Ramakrishna's hunger for the spiritual seeking was uncontainable. And it could be only satiated, fulfilled, or vetted, I should say, by sending trains of such sadhus and enlightened souls at his very precincts and gave him direct advice. So like that, it may not be as picturesque as what happened in Ramakrishna's life, but it will happen in a very grand manner in each one of your lives, because your life is precious. Each one of our life is precious, and it cannot be wasted away in the hands of the nature. That doesn't mean we have to give up the nature. It only means that we have to be sincerely seeking the right knowledge. And all things go hand in hand. The world is created not to be lost in it, but to use it as a ladder and climb and get a higher experience. What is that higher experience? High means what? Going to the exosphere, nanosphere, and troposphere. I mean, is that the higher? Higher in terms of subtlety. When we say higher, deeper, more intense, what do we mean by that language? We mean that this knowledge is available in its subtle forms. When we take Rasagulla, it's a grosser form of experience where two material have to come together, come in contact to produce a kind of a likening experience, a pleasurable experience. So because it involves matter, we call it a gross experience. Matter is gross. Why? What is gross? Gross is something which doesn't change any further. It is in its final form. And subtle is that which can have multivarious manifestations. You are getting into the causal part. Your sugar, milk, and then some amount of fuel is the causal nature of the Rasagulla, which is a finished product. Correct? So with the same milk, with the same sugar and syrup, water, other things, you can produce many more sweets. So since it can be transformed into have better scope for manifestation, we call it subtle. So that is subtler than the gross, which is a finally finished and a final product called Rasagulla. You understand the point? So subtler means you are invading into a causal domain, into the cause. And gross means you are invading into the effect. As you go down the plane of the effect, you are becoming grosser and grosser. As you navigate through the plane of causes and causes and causes and do a root cause analysis, you are growing up the ladder of subtlety. You are going up the ladder of higher knowledge, greater knowledge. Why greater knowledge? Obviously greater knowledge. How much knowledge Rasagulla can give you? How much knowledge sugar and milk can give you? With the sugar and milk, you can do various experiments. and produce koa and produce sandesh, variety of sandesh. You should go to Bengal to know how milk can be used. I mean, they are so, so genius. With milk, how many different kinds of sweets it can be made. Rasagula is just one of them. You get the point? So subtle means more power is there. More power because you are able to bring out more manifestation. And you have greater scope for widening your knowledge. You see, now you can now justify why we need to investigate into the subtleness of the truth and not get locked up in the grossness of its manifestation. Because of its multivarious potentiality to have multivarious manifestations. I'll give you another example. There are two guys who were trotting. One guy was blind, the other guy was helping him walk. And they were having a very casual, humorous talk. And suddenly he hits upon a tree. The blind guy hits upon a tree and they said, "Hey, something is stopping me. What is this?" He's born blind, he doesn't know anything. So this guy says, "Hey, there is a tree in front of you. Oh, you didn't feel it, is it? Okay. There's a tree in front of you. We should have avoided it. We banged against it." Tree. You told me about stone. You told me about bricks. You told me about holes. Now you are telling me something about a tree. What is this tree? I've never heard about it. First time I'm hearing. So what is this tree? He says, "Oh, acha, tree is that which has got a root below the ground and a shoot above the ground." Oh, so a tree is something which has a shoot and a root. And then he says, "Well, such is my plight that you will have to explain. Let me come to the shoot later. Or rather, let me come to the root later. Let me ask about shoot because it is above the ground." And that's what hit me. So what is the shoot that you're talking about? He says, "Yeah, shoot is nothing but, there is a trunk, and the trunk will have branches, and the branches will have further twigs, and the twigs will have leaves. So this entire thing is the shoot. It is shooting forth from the earth." This guy is blind, so all the things that he hears are only words. So, "Acha, that's very nice. So I asked what is tree, you said root shoot, and I asked what shoot is, then you said it is trunk, it is branches, it is twigs, and then it is leaves. So what is a trunk?" And this fellow said, "Hey, come, let's go further. Let's move forward. We will be stuck up in this place. We will not be able to continue the journey. We will do the questioning later. Let's move forward." But then you got the trend. You got the trend in the questioning. Because you guys are science guys. You will have the trend in the questioning. What started with a single question, ended up with, which was unsolved, ended up with the 6 questions, all of which are unsolved. Now, if he is going to explain shoot, he is going to talk about the bark, he is going to talk about the pith, and so on. And then each of them is going to entail another flurry of questions. So what did we do? At the root, what is a tree became children 5 questions, and each of those children are giving some more questions, and all of them are unanswered. Now my question here is, when are you going to answer them? How are we going to assemble all the answers and get an understanding of what the tree is? If for a simple tree, this is the predicament for a blind, how much more he will be bewildered getting into each objects of the creation. And how much are we enlightened? We are also blind. We are only seeing what is there in front of us. What is there behind us, above, below? We don't know anything. So what we don't know is as much as what this blind does not know about the tree. And that single tree is giving him unsolved so many questions. Correct? So this reasoning, we'll have to take it with a pinch of salt. What I'm trying to say here is, the questions are endless. But once you have the knowledge of of that supreme real reality, Atman, the Brahman, which is called as Satyam Jnanam, Jnanamayam, then they say all doubts vanishes. Vidyate hridaya granthi, siddhyante sarva samshaya. All the samshaya, all the doubts vanish. Now my question is, the doubt about the tree, will it vanish or not? The blind boy is very much interested in that. Acha, you tell reality, Atman, Atman. You told me about tree and the next 5 questions, leading me to some 50 million questions. None of which you will be able to answer. Tell me whether the knowledge of the Atman will remove my doubt or not. If it is not able to remove my doubt, then why should I go behind Atman? That's a very valid question. How do you say that this knowledge of the Atman is something superior and that one has to try for, aim for? And what is the incentive that I get when I am left with unanswered questions for even defining what a tree is? Of course, a tree, an object cannot be defined in itself. That's a different thing. But even relatively, I am not able to define. Anything relative you pick up, I will ask what that is. So, you are asking me to come up with a kind of an approximate understanding of things which I am not interested. I want to know the real thing. Can you give me? Yes, it can be given. How to be done? Know the Supreme, know the Atman, know the Brahman. Know your own self. You will get the answer to everything. But it's untenable. The tree is outside me. When I know about myself, how can I know about the tree? But the beauty in this construction is, even though it has got a lot of progressive diversions and a combinatorial explosion, as you go down this, N-way tree, they call it. Technically, it's called N-way tree. As you proceed forward, how is the question deepening? The questions are deepening by going from gross to subtle. Correct? It's going from grosser to subtle. When you take leaf, then the leaf will take you to the structure of the leaf, the components of the leaf. The components of the leaf are grosser than the leaf itself. Subtler than the leaf itself. Leaf is one form, but the components can form many such leaves of various kinds of plants, various kinds of species. So the same components are used in one particular way. So the components form subtler domain. So my inquiry, therefore, is reaching from grosser to subtle to subtler to subtlest. So that means, what is the subtlest thing I will end up with? A quick generalization if you want to take. What is that particular subtlest thing that we will reach, beyond which there is nothing subtler? That's a logical questioning that we can ask ourselves. Scripture says Atma is that subtlest, beyond which you cannot further find anything subtler, beyond which you cannot further any questioning. That's a hypothesis. That's a proposition. And that we need to realize in our own life. And the Shastra says, if you get hold of a proper understanding of this particular thing called yourself, capital S, then all doubts vanish. Now let us try to reconstruct this tree, rather traverse the tree from the leaf up to the root. Incidentally, this tree is ulta. The root is and then the leaves are below. Now that, if I answer the question of what a root is and what a shoot is, the answer to the question of what tree is got. Agreed? You have a tree, root, shoot. So if I answer what a root and what a shoot is, the answer to the question of what a tree is answered. Yes or no? Because besides the root and shoot, there is nothing in the tree. So if you have answered the parts which are questions, then you have answered the whole. Correct? So now come below the shoot. The shoot had 5 questions. Let us leave the root for the time being. Now the 5 questions which are below the shoot, if I answer each of those questions properly, if I successfully answer in the truest of the term, that you get a native and an intimate and an immediate understanding of what those 5 things are, then is my question about the shoot answered or not? It is answered. Correct? Now extend the reasoning. So if I answer So the 5 components are children to the parent question called shoot. And the shoot itself is a child to the parent question called tree. So that means when I answer the children, have answers for the children, I have answer for the parent. So what is the last child in the tree? What is that? So every child will be a level, right? Every children will be one level. So what is the last level in this tree? It is that level which does not have any level below. So that's the subtlest level. That subtlest level is the Atma, is the Brahman. So if that subtlest level, which is the Atma, the Brahman is my real self, if that particular thing is answered for myself, then its immediate evolute above in your tree construction would have been answered. Simple law of generalization. Nothing more required. Because my entire last level is answered. If my last level is answered, then the level above has to be answered. Because just now you agreed with me that the 5 answers to shoot, to the questions arising from shoot, answered my question about shoot itself. Likewise, the answer about the Brahman, which is the lowest, subtlest, getting that answer in a more intimate manner. Thenceforth, there are no doubts about it. Such a state of existence and knowledge. Of course, there is bliss also. And the evolute question out of that would have got answered. That means all those questions would have got answered. And then the evolute of those questions, that also would have got answered. So we are able to solve the tree bottom up. Your tree is answered. Now, what is this answer? The beauty here is that the moment we discover the self within, the Shastra says it is the same self which is existing without. So you will see the tree as the very embodiment of yourself. Therefore, no questions asked. It's very, very scientific in its, constructing the questions and answering the questions. But you cannot do that by exhaustive enumeration. We can never do that by exhaustive enumeration. You have to take a leap. 1 became 2, 2 became some 20 questions, 20 will become 200 questions, 200 questions will become 2,500 million questions. And then how long will you be going like this? Now there you have to take a leap. You have to stop this line of questioning and say, thank you. So you use logic now. And then say, Acha, what I have been doing all this time? All the while, I have been only traversing from a grosser realm to a subtler realm, to the causal realm. So let me try to find the root cause. And then you hit upon the basic question of who I am. You understand how things are now placed? So what is the necessity? What is the incentive you get by actually going in search of the self? The incentive is that all your doubts vanish. The questions that you asked about the tree, that question vanishes once and for all. It is not answered. The question itself vanishes. That's what Viparita Bhavana Nivritti takes us to. So, narena varena prokta esha suvigneyo bahuda chintyamanaha ananya prokte gatiratra nasti aniyan hyatarkyam anupramanat. This Atman now explained cannot be easily known or thought by a person of inferior intellect. Andenaiva niyamana, a person who does not know surgery, there are so many. Now suppose just because he has been given a subject, I only have to pity the patients that this guy will treat thenceforth, after having learned from such a quack. So, Prakriti Buddhi, the person is mind. Prakriti Buddhi, Prakrita Buddhi means, you know what it means. This fellow does not have a higher living at all. He has a very low thinking. His entire world is nothing but, some amount of joy, some pleasure, some effort, some amount of, crying, some amount of joy, and then happy with his own little life. That is what is called getting enmeshed by the oppression of the nature. Nature doesn't oppress. Frankly speaking, nature only exposes. But man, because of his ignorance, he feels that nature is oppressing him. And he says that nature is misleading him. Nature is entertaining him with these kinds of small gifts. Since it is entertaining, let me have it. You know something? In affluent countries, there are people, in fact, majority of them are very bulk and obese. That's why they put a lot of emphasis on body culturing, body building, body culturing. Why is it so? Because they have obesity. Obesity comes very soon for them. Why obesity? Do you know the reason why they are obese? You will be surprised to know. They eat much, they say. Because they are sitting and they are not working, they are eating a lot. Why are they eating a lot? Well, can't we eat? Can't Indians eat? Eating is a very, very basic activity, which even dogs and monkeys and all the reptiles are doing. They eat, so they become obese. So we don't eat. We don't want to eat. Everybody wants to eat. But they say, because there is plenty, because of the plenty of food available at a most affordable price, so to say, there is a enhanced propensity for gluttony. Right in front of you guys, suppose I keep a huge basket of eatables. Huge basket. Not the 2 cups that I'm going to give at the end of the program, but a huge basket. If I keep, hey, Lavenda, I think I'll be missing you once more. So, a huge basket I keep. Will you be satisfied with one bite? We'll take 2. I will take minimum 15. I'm telling you, I have no lajja in this respect. If I am midst of a what you call that a treasure trove of eatables, no, why will I just take a little thing and then do my upavasa on that day? I will give myself because next day I'm not going to get it. Nah. So I will have full. I have no problem in taking full. I admit without shame. So if somebody will say, no, I will, my appetite for food increases in presence of huge quantity of food, is true. It's very true. But here it is not the case. We have to spend a lot to get even that little enjoyment. So what we do? We are say, acha, acha, theek hai, these grapes are sour. And then we stay away. So obesity is because of gluttony, is because of plenty. Available of food, affordable and being plenty. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Can you connect? Prakritam, Prakrita Buddhi, Prakriti, which is the nature, which in the nature only all the eatables are there. The moment Prakriti comes in front of you, you lose your balance. And then we forget ourselves and then get enmeshed into the ways of the nature, and only to discover after having fallen several miles from our state of stability. By then, your body is broken, your mind is frittered away, you have already aged, and your enthusiasm completely dried out. That's when we come to the realization, often called as late realization. What Vishwamitra encountered. The whole thing has been so caricatured in the life of Vishwamitra. Because of his attainment, he could create a new world of joyous experiences. In that world, Menaka and many others were there. He created that world. It was the world of his creation. And that was born out of the weakness that he had with him. Because he was a Kshatriya. Kshatriya, Brahmana has lesser weakness. Kshatriya has slightly greater weakness compared to the worldly standards, I'm saying. So because of that weakness, and that took, strange and exploded proportions. And in that proportion, he found Menaka to be, which was actually his mental weakness, it took a live and a vivid form. He lived with that form that he created. And how did he sustain that form? He sustained that form with his own energy, spiritual energy. And as you spend your spiritual energy, you grow weaker. Whenever you spend, you grow weaker. Your bank balance doesn't grow by spending. debt grows. So, as he spent all the mental energy, the spiritual energy, the pranic energy on the creation that he was so fondly holding on to, then the world broke away. Then the world broke away. And now Mahabharata gives a very, very poignant description of this particular state of mind. He says, the moment he realized that he has lost his energy, Menaka vanished. She went from the earthly realm to the divine realm. What does it mean? She did not go anywhere. She was not there in the first place. Menaka was not there at all. It was his own creation. So as he could not sustain that creation because he went low in energy, the Menaka vanished. And then he has come back to the reality, he found he is again a beggar. Hi Ram. So many years of tapasya, once again I lost. But he was one man, he was determined to attain. I mean, Vishwamitra is really exemplary in that nature. As many times he fell, that many times he rose to a much greater height, with much further and firm resolve. And last time when he did that, then he said that, then he actually, when Menaka problem was there, his mind problem was there, that time he did not undergo physical tapasya. He was only doing mental tapasya. Physical tapasya he did not do. Further to this catastrophe, he underwent physical tapasya, meaning to say that anashanam, I will not take food. Because all the desires, they are growing only because of the pranic energy. And pranic energy comes from food. So I will not entertain myself any food at all. He took that resolve and then he grew, and then then it became a story how he was recognized as a Brahma Rishi by none less than Vasishta himself. So Prakrita, so the nature, even though it presents itself in multivarious colors, it is man who gets deluded. Where is my wisdom when I say 25,000 Rasagulla in front of me? I feed myself at least 25 Rasagullas. When I know that my stomach cannot take it. But I feel even if my stomach cannot take it, okay, I will take 10 Rasagullas, but whenever I go out of the room, I'll be always thinking, oh, there is a huge basket of Rasagulla, huge basket of Rasagulla. The earliest instant when I get the appetite for Rasagulla, I will again hit back to the room and then give myself a good serving of Rasagullas. We are completely obsessed and possessed with this idea of enjoyments which the nature is presenting itself. Plenty leads to indulgence. So youth gives plenty of energy, unrestrained energy. Restraint is there. It's just that I am not aware of it. I don't want to look at the direction. So much of positivity. So it leads to indulgence. Indulgence leads to frittering away of energies. Channelization, the thought to channelize comes only after we have lost sufficient quantum of energy. You know that? That's a very sad fact of life. If only we would have had that wisdom slightly earlier in life, how much greater works we could have achieved in our own lives. Anyway, by the preceptor only it has to be taught. Naisha tarkena mati rapaneya. Tarka means argumentation. Okay. Mati means intelligence. Now, through intelligence and reasoning, you cannot arrive at the idea, the truth. What is the truth? That I am that self, I am that Atman, the existence beyond mortality. That existence beyond mortality is a fact. Science may not have any device to prove it. That's the reason why I run to scriptures. If science is able to prove it, I don't need Vedas. I don't need Upanishads. Why are we going to Upanishads? Because science has nothing to say about it. And people who have achieved this realm of immortality, they come and repeatedly say, hey, the Prakriti, which is science, it has its own limitations. Don't listen only to that. You have to, as long as you want to live in the world, yes, of course, abide by all the rules. But if you are asking about the origin of this world, then go to the Shastras. Shastras has got enough answers. So they continuously give us the reminder and a pointer to the text. So that's the reason why with any amount of reasoning, we will never be able to arrive at a conclusion. But what we can do is, with the amount of reasoning, we can get rid of the negatives. How reasoning should be attained? Reasoning should not be used to arrive at the positive. Reasoning should be used to remove the negatives. Do you know there are two ways to answer your multi-choice questions? What are the two ways to answer the multi-choice questions? One is, you know the answer and you take it. The other one is eliminating the improbables. Correct? Reasoning is to eliminate the improbables, not to arrive at the answer. Okay, so that's the reason why. But the positive answer can never come out of reasoning. That's what this says. This idea, oh dearest, leads to sound knowledge. Proktan anyenaiva sujnanaya preshta. Yam tomapa satya dhritir bhatasi twadrinno bhuya nachiketa prashta. Sujnanaya, for the right knowledge. Hey preshta, oh the dearest, satya dhritihi bhatasi. You are fixed in truth. Satya dhriti. Dhriti actually means patience also, but steadfastness is the right. It's a beautiful term in English also. One of the terms which I really like in English, a very very appropriate translation, is this steadfastness. एक बार पकड़ लिया तो छोड़ेगा नहीं, बोलते हैं ना लोग. Once you get a grip of it, you will never leave it. So that is steadfastness. Come what may, I will see the end of it. What is that feature? What is that character? That is steadfastness. And that is dhriti. So you are satya dhriti. Satya dhriti means what? You are steadfast to know the truth. I can never dissuade you by giving you cheap invitations. Unless I give you the real truth, you cannot be fulfilled and satisfied. Satya dhritir bhata. The scripture has got a nice way of calling Nachiketa as a bhata. Bhata means child. Oh, dear child. Asi, you are such a dear child. Twadrim no bhuya Nachiketa prashta. Naha, me, I wish I really have people like you questioning. So that means what? Yama is actually indirectly appealing to each one of us. That the mortal world, people in the mortal world, be like a Nachiketa and ask this question. I'm eagerly waiting for the day when I will have disciples like you, Nachiketa, who will put forth this question to me. I will never be tired of answering that question. Anye naiva means agama abhijnanena acharyena tarkikate. That is, what is the method to know? Tarkikate, other than reasoning, not by reasoning. So, other than reasoning, agama abhijnanena acharyena. You will have to know from the teacher who is a literate in scripture, who is well lettered in scripture. So from such a why is it that the scripture the scripture itself is bringing Acharya to be lettered in scripture? And Acharya is a person who knows. But why is it insisting Agama Abhijnana? Agama means scriptures. Abhijna means who knows, who's renowned. So why is it so? But they say that book cannot give you knowledge. On one end they say book cannot give you the knowledge. On another end it says that the Acharya who should be well lettered. So where is the disparity? Is there a disparity at all? Lettered in the books, the reason here is, see, the reality cannot be described. It can only be experienced. It can never be expressed. But it can be experienced. Now, an experience which takes an expression, which cannot be expressed. That thing which cannot be expressed, it is going to take an expression. Then what will be that expression be? Can it be just only one? Or can it be in many ways? It can, of course it has to be in many ways. It cannot be in one way. Because there is no finality in expression. If you say it can be said only in one way, then there is finality in expression. Then finality in expression itself says that the experience is expressed. Because of the lack of finality in the expression, itself proves the fact that it has multivarious expressions. But those multivarious expressions, have they got any semblance with the experience or not? Because the moment an experience is expressed, there is some amount of degradation in the thought. Because we will be using, glass, tumbler, water, fruits, mobile. We will be using that mundane vocabulary. When you use mundane vocabulary, there will be overlapping ideas. So one thing will be said and something else will be understood. And each of them have got their own way of saying things. For instance, you cannot attain the reality unless you wage a war. Suppose I say that. Unless you wage a war, you cannot attain the reality. And I stop. What will you do? You will run jihad. You will basically execute a jihad. The war with the world is not the one which the scripture says. It says you have to wage a war within. What is the war? The enemies then. War means you should know who are the enemies. All the thoughts that are negative, that is pulling you down, that's making you feeling weak, that makes you feel that you are not the Atma, that makes you feel that you are a mere doll in the hands of nature. All these ideas are enemies. You have to wage a war against them. The language is more metaphorical and not actual. Correct? So an expression has a different interpretation. That is the problem with expressions. Whenever an idea is expressed, the idea actually undergoes a degradation. And further to which it undergoes a degradation with interpretations. And further to which it undergoes an interpretation in actually putting that interpretation into force. That's the reason why the scriptures say that books cannot give you the full knowledge. Very simple. Expressed knowledge is a degradation. How can you give you the best? After which you will have to strive forward. How is the striving? That upasana. Smarana, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Okay, so that's the reason. But Acharya should agree with the Agama. The reason being, what is the reason being? That the Acharya should not oppose the Agama. You should not oppose what the scriptures say. The Acharya should agree to what the scriptures say. The agreement of the scripture is what is expected here. By saying Agama Abhijnanena Acharyena, what it means? It means that the scriptures has been expounded by the seers in the past. Now, seer of the present should not come and undo that. Because his expression may be a little different. He should not undo the work of the past. That's the reason why he should agree to what the scriptures say. His experience should agree. Only you have to choose only those teachers whose experiences agree with what the scriptures say. Then you are safe. Follow that person and follow the scripture, you can reach the end. But then, my argumentative Indian, I'm an argumentative Indian, So I will ask the next question. Is this the only way? Are there no other ways? Yes, there are. For instance, I am proposing this way. I have found it in my dream. It was suddenly revealed to me. Scripture doesn't talk about it. What is the dream? Eat 25,000 rasagullas every day. You will get mukti. There is a revelation for me. Is that not a way? Then we have to be a bit careful. Saying that, which Shastra had given? No Shastra has told about this. Any Acharya? No Acharya has told about this. No Acharya has told about this. No Shastra. Then how are you guaranteed? Let us leave Rasagulla 25,000 number, which are all too impractical. Let us leave that a little bit aside. What is the guarantee that you will attain the purpose? Is there any guarantee? There should be. Then who? Who gives the guarantee? There is neither a guarantee nor a person who can give you a guarantee, whom you can hope to give you a guarantee. Then why risk your life behind such an approach? If your purpose is to attain perfection, then attain it in the way which is proven. Because it is not, I am a scientist to find a new method. That is not the purpose of our existence. The purpose of our existence to reach the state of perfection, to know who I am, to come to the leaf of all the questions, answering which I get to answer all the nodes in the tree. That is the purpose I have set myself forth. How does it matter which path I am going to take? If there is a proven path, walk. There is a land route, there is a sea route, and an air route. Now, which route will you take? The choice is very clear. These days and age, nobody takes the other two if you have air route. Correct? Proven. No, I find another route. I'm going to America, Washington. ऐसा जाऊंगा क्या मैं? आप लोग तो जाएंगे हवाई जहाज में, मैं तो दूसरे तरीके से जाऊंगा. कैसे? मैं जहाज में जाऊंगा. Nobody does it, so I'll do it. Go. So one has to be wise enough to choose the path. If there is a proven path, hold on to it like a bulldog and never lose your grip on it. It's proven. How it is proven? The man says, and the same idea is patented in the text. So things cannot go wrong. Because he didn't write the book, by the way. The book was written by someone else. The book is written by someone else, and my experience tallies with that. That means what the book says is right. That is a proven practice. That is the reason why beautifully it says, Proktan Anyenaiva Sugnyanaya Preshta. Acharya Shankara comes and gives. Who is that Anya? Who is that other man? That Anya is a different person. He is a Acharya who is a very manifest embodiment of the scripture of truths. Janamyakam Shevadiritti Nityam Nahyadrivai Prapyate Hi Dhruvam Tat Tato Maya Nachiketas Chitognihi Anityaihi Dravyaihi Praptavanasmi Nityam. So the idea is very straightforward here, that he is Yama is basically appreciating, acknowledging Nachiketa. You know, this encomium on Nachiketa is something which we can take upon ourselves if we show these symptoms. When Nachiketa has praised Yama like this, that means if I were to be in front of Yama with the same quality, Yama is going to shower the praise on me also. Nachiketa was no different. It's absolutely no different than me. If I am to process, then the same encomium is applicable for me also. There is a assertion of my dignity here through this encomium. That's the reason why we are going through this meticulously. Janamyaham Shevadi Ritya Nityam. I know Shevadi means a treasure. This treasure trove. What is the treasure? The treasure of all these worldly objects. This treasure of these worldly objects, Anityam, is impermanent. Nobody. Insurance also is time bound. Insurance is not for eternity. It is also time bound. To take an object, you have 1 year insurance, 2 year insurance, 5 year insurance, whatever, and for against certain threats. Correct? So, because nothing is permanent. Everybody knows nothing is permanent here. So, Shevadihi iti anityam iti janami. I know it is anitya. Adruvaihi. It is uncertain. Adruvai means, say, whenever I feel thirsty, I drink water. Agreed. So, thirst is quenched by water. Can I hold only on to water and say that no, my hunger also can be quenched by thirst, because it is same track, same destination, same activity? It cannot be trusted. So, whatever you hold on to are limited in purpose. It will not have a long say in your life journey. So, that is what adhrumam. Adhrumam means uncertainties. It will not take you for long distance. But then after that, you have to hold on to something else and then go forward. Another something else and go forward. Say in IT industry, people join IT industry with the great hope of earning a lot. But within 3 years, they get exhausted. The technology changes. Correct? And then what happens? He has to now acquire new knowledge. There's nothing wrong. Your brain cells are quite healthy and strong. But adhruvam, all the COBOL, Fortran programming that we have learned in the past, they are of very, 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 very little use. Some strange places, legacy practices, somewhere some COBOL is used. Well, only that also will require, say, how many 1,000 employees? Can it serve the whole world? It cannot. So that adhrumam, uncertainty, is plaguing every initiative and every support that we seek after. Our own family members, the house that I build, the car that I purchase, the company where I work, the degrees of learning that I possess, any of them permanent? Nothing is permanent. And here, Yama has given the best of the riches in front of Nachiketa. Nachiketa simply shooed it away, saying that, hey, these are all impermanent. He says, how grand is your realization that you have found the impermanence, and then settling your mind on that, you have categorically eliminated all these lurable things, invitations. Prapyate hi dhruvam tat tato maya nachiketas chitognihi anitye drivyehi praptavan asmritam. What did I do? Yama, what did I do? Sorry. Nachiketa, Yama tells Nachiketa, oh Nachiketa, what did I do? I did not have your wisdom. Indirectly he is saying, I was doing all this Nachiketa Agni, the Agni fire which I have taught you, which is going by the name Nachiketa Agni, the same fire sacrifice I did in my past when I was a human being. And I did similar such sacrifices. And I acquired a lot of, punya. And as a result of which, I have attained this Yamaloka Padavi. But this is also not permanent. Praptavan asmi nityam. This nityam has to be read properly. This nityam is actually relative nityam. In the relative world, it is there. As long as the water flows, river exists. So river is true as long as the water flows. Correct? So likewise, this nityam, that Yamaloka Padavi that I have got, is only a temporary attainment. It's only a temporary attainment. Even I did that mistake which you have not done. See, the master is acknowledging the disciple, saying the disciple has grown one step above me. That he didn't seek the lesser one. Kamasyaptim jagataf pratishtam krator anantyam abhayasya param stoma mahadur gayam pratishtam drishtva dhrityadiro nachiketyo atyasrakshihi. Nachiketa again atyasrakshihi is rejected all of these things. What all the things he has rejected? Kamasya aptim. What is the maximum field of sense pleasures? Let us be very, very sincere and straightforward. Take a paper. Go back to your room. Take a paper and then write down. What is the maximum thing that your desire can fetch? Put down one after another. That is kamasya apti. Jagatah pratishtham. Jagatah here means adhyatma, adi devika, adhyatma, adi bhuta, and adi devika. Everything that pertains to oneself, adhyatma, everything that pertains to this world, adi bhutam, everything that pertains to the world hereafter, adi deva. All these things is called jagat. Jagat is not simply this earth. Jagat is all these three put together. Now, jagatah pratishta means on what is this particular jagat resting on? That kratoho anantyam. Kratoho anand. Kratu means sacrifices. Anantya, anand. It also means the various kinds of fruits that we get in sacrifices. Abhayasya param. It is a realm beyond fearlessness. Jagatah pratishtam kamasyaptim kratoho anantaha. Abhayasya param, the fourth characteristics. Stomam. Stomam means it is highly praiseworthy. What are the things that are praiseworthy? The heavenly existence. The heavenly existence is the highest that the desires can get you. Correct? Heavenly existence is the highest where we have complete control on all the three lokas. It is the highest place where you get the results of all the fruits of our action. That is a place where you find yourself amidst of only friends, no enemies. In heaven there are no enemies. Abhayasya par, there is no fear therefore. There is no security consciousness. There is no instinctive preservation that is happening within ourselves. All these are happening in the world of heaven, ethereal worlds of heaven. Stomam, it is highly praiseworthy because whatever you want, you get in ideal living world conditions. Naturally, it is praiseworthy. Stomam, Mahat, it is great. It's not limited. All the souls can reach that heaven, and still we will be having an infinite heaven for inducting new souls. So Mahat in sense of greatness and grandeur. Urugayam. Urugayam means boundless. Pratishtam drishtva. Drishtva means you beheld all these things. Nachiketa, because I showed you all these things. After me having shown you all these things, you held it. And then what did you do? You become dhritya. You became steadfast. Dhiraha. Dhiraha means courageous. It requires a lot of courage to resist your temptation. Why is it that the man gives away, comes away, he scuttles? It is because he is unable to check his temptation. Whenever you go to a shop, if there is a toothpaste with a good toothbrush as a freebie, we always try to take that. Even though another toothpaste, 5 rupees more is of a better quality. 5 rupees more, but it's a better quality. Giving up that, we take the one with the freebie. Why? No, I am prone to that. I am being lured into that because my resolve for quality scuttles away when a gift is presented. I am compromising with my resolve. Whenever you compromise your resolve, know for sure that you have undone your past. You are not growing, but you have undone your past. That's the reason why the sankalpa tyaga is a very, very, not tyaga in sense going against sankalpa is to be treated with introspection very seriously. What I'm trying to say, simple. Suppose you say to yourself, Acha, tonight I'm going to read this chapter in a book, or do this experiment in the lab, or work out a program. Set yourself a target. Complete it. Just complete it. Against all odds, complete it. This is firmness in resolve. Little while you go and say, अच्छा ठीक है, tomorrow will कल के देखा जाए. कल तो आज से अभी तो जी तक close it and then keep it. Then that leads to weakening of your resolve. As a result, it gives you an incentive for your next resolve also to be weakened, and that becomes a kind of a negative inertia that acts upon your mind whenever you take a firm resolve. See, this should not be a habit. How do you break this habit? By taking the resolve to completion. And once you make it a habit, you know what happens? Your mind will start taking less and less resolves. Because it knows, resolve लेने के बाद ये तो छोड़ेगा नहीं हमको. जब तक पूरा नहीं होता ये हमको छोड़ेगा नहीं. तो इसलिए हम resolve ही नहीं करेंगे. That is good. That is not good. But taking the resolve and not completing is worse. Rather worst. Correct? So here he says, Dhira, the intellect. Atyasrakshi. Tam durdarshtam gudam anupravishtam. Why it is breaking? I don't know. Tam durdarshtam gudam anupravishtam guhagitam gahvareshtam puranam adhyatma yogadi gamena devam matvadiro harsha shoko jahati. Here what happens is, the nature of the highest realization is described. Durdarsham. It is difficult to get. See, you are going down the tree of causation, where the topmost is the effect and bottommost is the root cause. So when you are going to the root cause, let us not trivialize it. It's not a baby stalk. It's going to be non-trivially effort worthy but. So, tam durdarshan, it is difficult. It also tells why it is difficult. Gudam. Gudam means it is covered. Anupravishtam, it has entered into the Anupravishtam. Pravishtam means entering. And it has entered into even the atom of the atoms. It has entered into the atom of the truth is prevailing in such a subatomic level, so to say. Anupravishtam, guhahitam. It is lodged in the inaccessible resource. Where guha here actually means buddhi. Buddhi is considered as guha. You know, buddhi is a very interesting faculty. What it does, people say, "Arey, tumhar buddhi kotha hai." Galat karya korar por, sorry, when people do mistakes, what is the first blame they get, Don't you have sense? What sense? Eye sense? Nose sense? Intellect sense? Intelligence. Where is your intelligence? That's the sixth sense. So when you say where is your sense, not the first five, the sixth one, which is intelligence. Where is your sense means where is your intelligence? Why are they questioning your intelligence? Why are they not questioning your other faculties? What is intelligence supposed to do then? Have you ever asked this question to yourself? Why intelligence is being challenged for a wrong move? Because we expect the intelligence to always show us the right path. Always show us the right path. Always. Because we do not know when we will commit an error. And at that time, one joker will be seeing us. Buddhi kotha hai? Bolbe. Where is your buddhi? Exactly at that time he will catch us. The most vulnerable moment is the time when you commit an error. Correct? So, intelligence is supposed to always tell you correct thing. But that understanding is not correct. What intelligence does is, it gives you an earlier notion of what is correct. An earlier understood notion of what is correct. That's the reason why we say we have to train our intelligence also. We have to tell our intelligence that this is correct, this is not correct. That has to be fed into the intelligence. Out of that only it can act. In a later time, this is right, this is wrong. Because you have already given that input. Faithful to whatever input that is given is the work of the intellect. It will never manipulate. Intelligence is one particular faculty within our constitution which will never manipulate. That is the reason why they say it is a faculty of certitude. It will always answer with certainty. Right, wrong. Not in the eternal sense. In the sense it has understood. In the sense it has been taught. In the sense it has been educated. In that sense it will say right, wrong. Suppose there are communities where violence is justified. So if you put it in your mind that the violence is right, naturally you will vote for violence. At least you will be like a brainwashed individual for voting for violence. Agreed, right? So that is the buddhi. So that guha is the buddhi. And that is the seat of your Atma. The reality, the Atman, the Brahman that whom we are seeking is actually lodged in that guha. That's the reason why he says that the truth is lodged in that guha. Because that's where we are able to tatra upalabhyamanatvat. That's the place, that the heart is the reason where we are able to experience the reality of the truth. That's the reason why during the meditation we touched upon this idea that the lotus of the seat of the God is approaching and occupying the heart of our existence. It is this heart which is the source, which is the genesis, it is the evolute of our intelligence. It is the seat of our intelligence. And it is at the very locus of that intelligence, the seat where we are trying to enshrine the most divine object of our adoration, and realize them. And what will we realize as? One self, one with that. We will realize in that sense. Yatayeva gudam anupravita guhagita. See, Durdarsha, first word is Durdarshan. Durdarshan means it is very difficult to attain. Why it is difficult to attain? Explanation. Gakvareshtaha covered. Guhagitaha, it is there in the innermost recess which is Buddhi Guha. And then Gudam Anupravishtaha. It is there entering into the subtlest of the subtle. It is impregnating the subtlest of the subtle. Anoraniya, again it will come later. That's the reason why it is very difficult to attain. Etachritva sam parigrihya martya pravridhya dharmya manumetamapya samodate modaniyam hilabdva vivridam sattvam achiketa sammanye. Now, another idea that is coming here is a person who attains this self, he will have the joy of the joy. What is the incentive? I mean, why all this dry kind of reasoning and deliberating on things which are not comprehensible in a natural sense? Why am I putting all this effort? For the simple reason that the joy, the merit of the joy that we get at the end of all this exercise, at the consummation of this exercise, is immeasurable. That's the incentive. Anyatra dharma, anyatra. Now Nachiketa, Yama stops his praise of Nachiketas, and then Nachiketa now starts further questioning Yama. Do we continue for 5 minutes? Shall we? 5-10 minutes maximum? 5 minutes, okay. Anyatra dharma, anyatra dharmat, anyatra asmat krita krita, anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha, ettat pashyasi tatpada. Now he says, yes, Yama, silently is acknowledging whatever praise. You feel happy when somebody praises you. Nothing wrong about feeling praised. So then he says, getting emboldened, he says, yes, I want to know that which is surpassing both dharma and adharma. And which is krita and akrita. Krita means the effect of it. Akrita means the cause of it. That which is both beyond both the cause and effect, both beyond what is the right and wrong, dharma, adharma, asmat kritat kritat, anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha. It is beyond all realms of existence, different from the past, and it is different from the future also. That particular sense cannot be conveyed within the time domain. The knowledge of one's own self, the bliss experienced through the knowledge of one's own self, neither of which is contained within time. And time is also a very elusive concept, When you are suffering, time is elongated. When you are so joyful, time is so short. You know that this class is happening for the last 5 hours. You know very well. Because it is an intense operation where the time is really, you feel it lengthy. Had it been a movie, you would not have been feeling that 2 hours have passed. You would have found that it is just 10 minutes have passed. Correct? Because it is a kind of a discussion happening in a one way, and things are being flurry of words are flooding towards you. So as a result of which you find that there is a drag. There is a possibility that you may find a drag. And then you feel the sense and the expanse of time. So time itself is a mental notion. And when a person experiences that particular subtlest of the subtle truths, the Atman, the Brahman, your own self, there they say, it's very surprising. I really want to have it at least once in my life. The time stops. The time literally stops. So when time stops, then where is future and where is past? So bhutaha bhavyat. It is different, anyatra. It is different from, so that is the state where actually the time stops. Indirectly, Nachiketa is referring to that. Yattat pashyasi tadvada. Whatever you see, you please tell me. Sarve Veda yat padamavananti. All the Vedas talk about it. Tapamsi sarvani yat vadanti, which is the end of all tapasya. Yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti. People follow the brahmacharya vow, a strong practice of one-pointed concentration and your total dedication and surrender to know the truth. See, this all actually will have to motivate us to be steadfast in whichever goal that we set ourselves for. There should not be, mind should be unwaveringly, aimed at the goal that we are approaching. So, yadichanto brahmacharya tatte padam sangrahena pravini. In precise language, sangrahena here means not briefly. Sangrahena means samyak jnanartham. For me to understand well, complete knowledge. Bravimi, I tell.
Samyak means complete.
Samyak means complete. Well, complete is one way. wellness. Wellness is samyak. Samyak kritam. ভালো করেছো তুমি। That ভালো যেটা বলছি না আমরা ওটা samyak. And completeness also samyak. Samyak kritavan means he has done it completely without কখন ভালো হবে, অংশ ছেড়ে দিলে ভালো হবে কি, হবে না। So samyak also means purna, completeness. So that state which is expounded by the Vedas, that state which is the aim of realization of all the various practices, all that being concentratedly aimed for through brahmacharya like practices, that I tell you, my dear child, in Sankshepena, in its complete entirety, it goes by the name Om. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Next class we will describe, there is a very beautiful treatment of the subject of Om, and we will complete the canto. I thought I will do it this time, but there is no fun in